Hello everyone, Tutu Mora here with the Y, bringing you tools to feel well in your body, mind, and spirit. So today we're going to be focusing on strengthening the abdominals and the oblique muscles. You won't need any props, you'll just need a mat or a soft surface to lay down on. And I'll go ahead and meet you down on the mat. So, you're going to want to go ahead and lay down. We'll start with our feet about hip distance apart here. And we're going to start by just taking a little pelvic curl here. So what that means is that with your pelvis resting here on the mat, imagining that you've got back pants pockets on your yoga pants or on whatever you're wearing. We're just going to gently curl that tailbone, tilt that pelvis so that we're resting more heavily on the tops of those back pants pockets. Taking that into our pelvic curl. And then we'll take that back down to neutral, which means that we're resting equally between the top and the bottom of that back pants pocket. And then we're going to take it into a little pelvic extension. So we're gently imprinting that tailbone into the mat, resting more heavily on the bottom of those back pants pockets. And so we'll take it back and forth between those two spaces just for a couple here, warming up the spine before we move into any more dynamic movement. And so as you're doing this, perhaps noticing, taking a little scan of the rest of the body and seeing where you might be holding onto any tension or tightness, and see if you can just soften those spaces, maybe taking your breath there. And so then let's return to our neutral pelvis, so equal between those top and bottom ends of the back pants pocket. And we're going to turn our attention to the sternum. So I want you to imagine that that sternum is like a stoplight. It's got a red, green, and yellow light there. It's got a top portion, middle portion, and bottom portion. And we're going to bring our hands around to cradle the back of the head here. And we're going to be coming up into a chest lift. And what I want you to feel is that as you're lifting up, instead of just bringing your head up, you're lifting first that top sternum stoplight, and then the middle sternum stoplight, followed by the bottom sternum stoplight. So you're ending at a space where your shoulder blades are just starting to pick themselves up off the mat. And then you're going to set yourself back down. So let's try that a couple times, practicing lifting from that sternum and allowing your head to remain heavy in your hands. And so coming up just enough to feel that low belly start to engage. That's what we want to be working with here today. And so finding where that engagement starts for you. And it doesn't have to be a big movement, just enough to start to feel that engagement. And so let's take a few more here, wherever you are, keeping your elbows in the periphery of your vision. And whenever you need to, reminding yourself that your head should stay resting heavy in your hands. So let's take two more here. Last one. Resting back down. So this is a movement that we're going to be carrying into working with something more dynamic. So let's come up into our chest lift here. So raising yourself up stoplight by stoplight. And then you're going to bring your right leg into a straight leg. Heel sort of reaching at a diagonal. And we're just going to lower that leg and lift it back up. So we're holding here in our chest lift, and I want you to feel like your leg is resting heavy into the back of the hip socket. So when you feel like the leg is not super weighted, either when you start to come down or when you raise back up, that'll be the end of your range. So it's okay if as you're lowering and lifting your leg, you've got quite a short or a small range. It doesn't need to be big, it just needs to be enough to engage and strengthen those abdominals. So let's take one more here. Bringing that leg back into a shelf and then resting it back down. So you can rest down that chest lift, take a little moment. If you need to wiggle out the hips, feel free to do so. And then we're gonna come right back up into our chest lift, raising yourself up stoplight by stoplight. And then we're gonna do the same thing on the left side. So let's bring that leg out into a diagonal, heel reaching right in line with the body, starting to lower and lift, leaving that leg resting heavy into the back of the hip socket, only bringing that leg range as big as you can keep that weightedness. So really allowing that hinge to be at the hip. And of course, holding that chest lift. Let's do 3 more here. Remembering to breathe. It's so easy to start to hold your breath when you're doing these, but the breath is actually going to help you stay stable. And back into a shelf, resting back down. You can lower that chest lift back down. And so we're going to add in a little bit of a twist so we start to engage that cross pattern and those obliques. So what we're gonna do is we're once again gonna start to peel up stoplight by stoplight here. And then rotating at the sternum, we're just gonna give it a little bit of a twist. And from here, we're gonna bring that right leg back into a shelf, bring in that straight diagonal, keeping that twist, we're gonna lower and lift. About 5 times. Two more. Back into a shelf, resting back down, untwist, nice and slow and controlled before resting that chest lift back down. So if you need to take a breather, feel free to do so, and we're gonna bring that chest lift right back up, twisting to the same side, other leg. Lower and lift. 3 more. Back into a shelf, resting back down. Untwist, nice and controlled, slowly bring that chest lift back down. And so from here, we're gonna do that same thing, twisting to the other side. So elbows back in the periphery of your vision. Let's find that chest lift. So again, peeling up from that sternum, bringing in that little twist, which might be harder from one side to the other, and that's okay. Bringing in that leg, and we'll lower and lift. 3 more. Back into a shelf and resting back down. Let's untwist, slowly bring that chest lift down, and we'll take that one more time using the other leg. So nice and controlled, let's start to peel those sternum stoplights up one at a time, finding that little twist at the sternum, other leg. Lift and lower 5 times. Reaching through the heel to stay connected into the back of the hip socket. Back into a shelf, resting back down, untwisting, and slowly bringing that chest lift back down. So last thing that we're gonna do here is we're gonna once again take a chest lift, peeling yourself up. Head rests heavy in your hands here, so find that feeling of your head resting heavy, keeping it in line with the spine, so you might need to tuck your chin a little bit. And then we're gonna bring our arms out in front of us. Slowly bringing them all the way up, in line with the spine on a diagonal here, and then back down. And we'll do that 4 more times, keeping that throat as if it's behind the heart to keep your head in line with the spine and avoid pulling through your head. 2 more. And then bringing your hands behind the head, resting back down. And let's take another little pelvic curl just to cool down. Perhaps noticing if it feels a little bit different. Maybe the spine feels a little bit more loose. And then you can rest back at your neutral pelvis here. And so I hope that this gave you a nice little ab and oblique workout here. I hope you found this supportive in helping you feel strong. And I'll see you back here next time on the Y's YouTube channel. Take care.